What is going on, Nav Nation, and welcome back to another video. Today, guys, we have another episode of This or That. Which Pokemon cards should I choose? And seeing as how you guys enjoyed this installment so much last time, I thought I would go ahead and finish off the last batch of questions from that first bulletin that I put out. So we will jump into those right here today. And the first one comes to us from Martin Larson, and he asks, first appearance cards, the rookie cards of Pokemon in near mint to mint condition or sealed products, vintage and or modern. In this case, what I would be looking at here with these quote-unquote rookie cards is which ones are you really talking about? Because although it's a novelty, it's pretty cool to see a Pokemon's first appearance or maybe a mechanic's first appearance, that doesn't always hold any kind of intrinsic or inherent value to it. So I would say in this case, it really depends on the Pokemon. It really depends on the type of card, maybe what the population of that card is when you're comparing it to something of equivalent value for a sealed product, both vintage and modern. So if you're looking at something like maybe the first appearance of Lugia, which would be from Neo Genesis, then I would say yes, that would be a fantastic card to go with versus perhaps something of vintage or modern sealed product value. I would say that that would probably be something that would be a good idea there. But if we're talking about maybe the first appearance of Bidoof, probably not going to hold the same type of value, and you'd be better off just going with a sealed product for vintage or modern. And this is a real tough comparison, kind of comparing apples to oranges in this case. If you were to compare, let's say, two different rookie cards together, again, you're going to look through all of those different facets. You're going to look at what is the Pokemon? What is the popularity of that particular Pokemon? How well known is it within the hobby? How many people out there on the secondary market would actually want that card? You're also going to want to see, hey, what is the mechanic that may be attached to this rookie card? So if we're looking at something like the first full art cards, the Reshiram and Zekrom, then I would say those are fantastic cards. They've really held up their value well, and they're really the cornerstone of black and white base set. But again, if we're looking at something that is even more of a novelty, a particular Pokemon that's not that well known and really doesn't have that intrinsic value, then it's pretty obvious there. So you're just going to want to compare all those different facets, and ultimately that will give you a better indication of which of these quote-unquote rookie cards you should go with. I think it's a really good question though, and one that I've talked about a lot on the channel, of finding these little pockets, these little niches within Pokemon cards that could create an opportunity. And this could be one that a lot of people are overlooking with these again quote-unquote rookie cards that collectors, investors later on down the line may look back and say, hey, I really want to get the first appearance of this particular Pokemon, and this is the card that does that. I also had another video talking about the Pokemon cards that are the least printed, or the least least number of these cards within the Pokemon hobby, and none of these Pokemon are very popular. None of them are like really sought after cards, but that could be something at some point where these particular Pokemon that have so few cards printed in the Pokemon card hobby, that could turn into a novelty and a particular niche that collectors and investors are actually looking for later on down the line. Next up, we've got Jared Lake, Evolving Skies alternate arts or golden cards, better potential value for 5+ years from now. Again, I would say kind of same type of tenet holds true here. You really want to look at what is the alternate art, what is the gold card, what is the population of the alternate art to the gold card, or vice versa. If you're looking at something like maybe the Rayquaza alternate art from Evolving Skies, and maybe we're comparing that to the previous set, the secret rare golden Snorlax, I would say in that case it's probably better off to go with the Rayquaza. But again, you want to look at what is the population, how many PSA 10s are out there, how many PSA 9s are out there, how many raw cards are out there, how many of these are you actually seeing on the secondary market, because ultimately that supply and demand scenario is going to play into which of these is the better option. I can tell you that Rayquaza was really, really difficult to get, but also the golden Snorlax was very difficult to acquire as well. So in this case, you really have to go down and say, from an economics 101 standpoint, which of them is really more in demand, and how few of these are actually out there. How difficult is it to try to acquire these cards on the secondary market? Now, again, there's going to be certain Pokemon that if there is a gold card for that Pokemon, if we got a Charizard as a gold card, that's gonna be a huge chase card, no matter what. I mean, you slap a Charizard on any card, it's gonna be a big chase card. But again, if you get a Charizard in an alternate art, that's going to be a big chase card. So you really, in my opinion, you have to compare all those facets. Now, for me personally, I think that alternate arts are going to be kind of the gold standard, no pun intended, comparing that to gold cards, but for years to come. I really like the artwork on these cards. I really like how aesthetically pleasing they are, and how much I think they hold a value to collectors. But again, just because of that, that does not necessarily mean that they will trump the gold cards later on down the line. I think in the end, a lot of it boils down to these foundational things of supply and demand, the Pokemon itself, that'll ultimately really play better into your hand and play better into your decision of which one you should go with for a long-term investment. Next up on our list, we've got Roy M. I personally think Evolving Skies is the best modern set since Hidden Fates. However, I've heard they will print a lot of this set. Should I be accumulating sealed Evolving Skies product as price lowers, or should I be investing in celebrations, which right now you can't find any of those pre-sale items for MSRP? I lean towards Evolving Skies. So what I can tell you right now is we still have 2 waves of Evolving Skies to come out, and from the first wave of products, we always get the vast majority of allocation. Whether you're a reseller, whether you're a store, you're going to get the vast majority of your allocation in that first wave, and then every subsequent wave after that is either the same or it dwindles down a little bit more each time. It gets subsequently less with each wave. So I can tell you that for Evolving Skies and Celebrations, with Evolving Skies, the initial wave looks to be less than what we will get for Celebrations. However, that being said, it looks like Evolving Skies in those subsequent waves will have more than what Celebrations will have in those subsequent waves. So if you're trying to ask yourself which one should I go with at this time, again, a lot of the time what I say, look at your cost basis. Look at what you're purchasing that particular product for in the beginning, especially if you're looking to hold this for the long term, because that margin, if you're purchasing it at 30-40% above market value, and you have the opportunity to get another product that may be 30-40% under market value, well, there you go. I guess that would be your answer right there. To me, the cost basis, your initial purchase price, is really important, sometimes even more important than what I think the actual long-term potential of that particular product. So the nice thing here with these 2 sets is that you're going to have a better shot of getting Celebrations in that first wave, because I think Pokemon is really focusing on getting these out to the community in that first wave. So they're going to provide more of these products in that first wave and then dwindle it down over the 2 subsequent waves. Whereas with Evolving Skies, that first wave, although it was still pretty good, the second and third wave will be more, at least according to the indications that we've seen, will be more than the subsequent waves for Celebration. So it actually presents a good opportunity for you to maybe capitalize on both. All right, and our next question comes from Backroom 501. Still invest in the Japanese CP6 booster box at the price it is, or miss the boat? Could it still keep increasing a lot more in the future, looking at a long-term play? So CP6, I really like this booster box, and at this point I would recommend it over Evolutions. I think that it has held its value really well. It's continued to go up, where we've seen the reverse, and this is hard for your boy PokéNav to say because I really love Evolutions, but we've seen the exact opposite with Evolutions, where we've seen that retrace, whereas CP6 has either held its value or it's even gone up a little bit over the course of time. So at this point, you really have to weigh, any time that we're comparing one product or saying, hey, have we missed the boat on this, you really have to look at what could you get for a comparable price. So maybe there's other vintage products, older, rare, mint, or better. Maybe there's older products out there, whether it's cards or sealed products, that are of the same caliber as CP6 in terms of its overall financial value at this point, then maybe you'd be better off investing in. So that's just something else to take a look at. What other products out there that may be older, rarer, minter, better, of equivalent value that maybe your money would be better spent on. I still think that CP6 is going to climb in value over the long term, just like most products will, especially sealed products. But again, I think that there will still be opportunities for CP6 out there, whereas some of these older products, maybe cards or sealed products, that maybe those are just not going to come back onto the market anymore. So maybe CP6 booster box, maybe you put that on the back burner and focus those funds that you would otherwise spend on that on something a little bit more of the vintage variety. Next up on our list, we got Emma Brown, a set of Wizards of the Coast Unlimited Holos, or only a couple of Wizards of the Coast First Edition Holos. So we're talking about the tenants before, the SM Pratt tenants. In this case, the comparison that I like to use, or the analogy that I like to use, is maybe perhaps not putting all of your eggs in one basket. So if you're getting, if both of these are the same, so you've got a few first edition holos or a full set of Wizard of the Coast Unlimited holos, then maybe in this case you would have a little more, maybe more selling capability, maybe a little more purchasing power with the Unlimited holos versus the first edition. Now again, the first editions are always going to garner a premium over the Unlimited, but perhaps you would have a better time reselling the Unlimited holos and having a larger variety of these cards that you could pull from versus just a few first edition holos. So it's kind of like in the financial world where, again, we say don't put all of your eggs in one basket. If you're just banking on a few of these first edition holos to increase in value, or for you to sell those at some point in the future for a given premium, then there could be a lot that goes on in that time. Those cards a lot more of them could come out onto the market. They could drop tremendously. Whereas, same thing could happen with Unlimited holos, but at least at that point you've got a larger quantity of cards, a larger pool that you can pull from to try to sell those off, and you've got a little more variety that you can choose from in this particular case. But again, the first edition holos always going to hold a premium there, but you just have to weigh that risk versus reward scenario of which ones should I actually go with here, which ones are going to give me a little more buying power, purchasing power, and which ones am I going to have a more variety of being able to sell off at some point in the future. All right, and then finishing up with our last question here. It comes from Devo Barrow, 25th Anniversary Japanese Booster Box or Metazoo Nightfall Booster Box. Which is the better investment? Are they even comparable? Would love to see a head-to-head comparison of the hottest various upcoming TCG sets. So this one is tough when you're comparing across TCGs. And the one thing that I have to say about Metazoo is, although I do think that it has potential, it is an untested TCG. It's so new, and it's not an umbrella type of brand like Pokemon is, where it has all these other facets to it that really can hold it up and make it sustainable over the long term. It's just a TCG, right? It's just a TCG, and it's an untested TCG. Now with Pokemon, this is an anniversary set. So for the Japanese collection boxes, that golden box, for instance, this is a very unique product, and it's celebrating this 25-year run that Pokemon has had. So in this case, what I would say, although the Metazoo Nightfall box is very enticing because there's a lot of hype around it, there's a lot of unknowns, there's really no limit at this point. We don't know how high it can climb. We don't know how popular it can really get. You can take the risk. Again, a lot of this is like risk versus reward scenarios, and I would say in this case you could potentially take the risk. You could go with the Nightfall booster box, and you could say, hey, I'm gonna get in on the ground level, and I'm gonna bank on this. It's kind of like that value type of investment, that Warren Buffett type of style, where you see the value there, maybe it's undervalued by the overall market, and you're trying to play into that particular item increasing in value and the market catching on to it later on and capitalizing on those gains. But in this case, what I would say that Pokemon has such an established history. The anniversary sets have always been big. When we look at previous anniversaries, whether it was the 20th, the 15th, what have you, products that were released around that anniversary have always done really well over the long term, and especially when we reach that subsequent anniversary date. The previous anniversary products, they always do really well during that year. So in this case, I would say if I were conservative type of investor, I would go with the 25th anniversary Japanese products, especially something like that golden box, over the Nightfall booster box. However, if you're more of the risk-taking type of individual and you say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take a bet on Metazoo, then you could go with the booster box. But again, it's really comparing how much risk are you willing to take for that added reward. So guys, I think that is going to do it for today's episode of This or That. If you guys have other questions that you would like to see answered on a future video, be sure to leave those down in the comments below, and chances are you will see them in a future episode of This or That. Other than that, guys, I will see you all next time. My name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon, one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.